Work It Out, featuring Pleasure P right here on Early Edition with at 5:31 p.m. bringing Pacific people together. It is 10 minutes past 11 o'clock. Professor Katerina Teaiwa has been named the 2021 Australian University Teacher of the Year for her visionary approach to teaching and mentoring students in Pacific Studies at the Australian National University. Awarded by Universities Australia, the accolade celebrates the work of some of the nation's best university educators. Professor Teaiwa is from the ANU College of Asia and the Pacific, has taught Pacific Studies for more than 20 years and convened the innovative Pacific Islands Field School from 2010 to 2019 and the ANU Asia Pacific Week in 2020 and 2021. Born and raised in Fiji, Professor Teaiwa is of Banaban I Kiribati and African American heritage and is the first Indigenous female from the Pacific to become a professor at ANU. Professor Teaiwa is on the line with us now, and we say Kona Maori, Professor, and thank you so much for making time to have a chat with us this morning.
Maori ete and Wulavinaka, everyone. Thanks for having me on the show.
Our pleasure, absolutely. First of all, congratulations. How was it to be informed that you were Australia University Teacher? You are Australia University Teacher of the Year for 2021.
I'll be honest, I was pretty surprised, actually. We put in an amazing nomination. ANU did an amazing job with the nomination, but I was up against a lot of brilliant teachers from many different disciplines: health, science, international relations, strategic studies. And when I saw the caliber of teachers that were up, I thought, yeah, I'm confident in what I do, but I suppose I'm not always confident in Australia's attention to the Pacific. So when they made the announcement that I was one of 8 teachers who had won a Teaching Excellence Award, and then in the whole country, and then the Teacher of the Year for the whole country, I think I almost fell off my chair in my office. I had my education mentor with me sitting there, and she was so happy, but she knew it. Somehow she knew it. She said, like, spiritually, I know this is going to happen. And I was like, wow, your confidence is wonderful. But I was surprised. And then I was so happy. And I just kept thinking, what does this mean for our people, our various Pacific communities across Australia and the region, my family? You know, it was a bubble up of all kinds of emotions. But yeah, I have been doing this for a long time and inspired by my older sister and amazing, other mentors in Pacific Studies. And I think, the Pacific deserves this, especially in Australia.
So it would be fair to say that you would be the first person from the Pacific to get this award.
Yes. Absolutely. And there are not many of us in academia. There are not many of us in higher education, especially compared to Aotearoa New Zealand, where our numbers are very small in the university system, let alone there are a few of us at sort of lecturer and senior lecturer level, barely any at associate professor level. And then I think just 3 of us in the whole country at professor level. So it's huge. It's huge for Australia with the number of universities that we have, with the number of students, both domestic and international, that seek out studies in Australia. It's a very important, popular place internationally for higher education. So this is, I recognize that even though I'm always in my own corner doing my own thing and trying to inspire lots of people, this means a lot for the Pacific, coming from a place like like Australia, where our numbers are small. We don't see ourselves in university classrooms. So this is huge. Yeah.
Wow, there are only three professors of Pacific heritage in Australia. Who are the other two?
There's Professor Chochi Ravulo, who is at the University of Sydney, Sydney University. And I'm ashamed to say I don't know the name of the third one because I she's in the sciences. She's Tongan. And so there tends to be a bit of a divide between the humanities and social sciences and the natural sciences in that we don't get to know each other and we don't get to meet. But I came across her at the end of last year on Twitter when she made the announcement that she'd been promoted to professor. And I know that she's a researcher in gynecology and she works with women, and that seems to do some amazing research at the University of Melbourne. But unfortunately, in not just in Australia but elsewhere, those two spheres don't always overlap. But we were very happy to hear there was a Tongan woman who had achieved professorial status, and I believe she's Tongan Australian, and so is Chochi. He is Fijian Australian, whereas I was born in the islands. So I'm a more, I suppose, recent migrant to Australia. Yeah.
Yes, now since we last spoke, we haven't spoken since you became a professor.
That's right.
Congratulations on that as well.
Yeah, thank you so much, Ete. That was another a big, long, hard journey to get there, but um, I felt really ready. I felt like my teaching track record was excellent. My research track record was excellent. And I did a lot of administration and outreach and lots of different things for ANU. And I've been around at ANU a long time. And I had been trying to inspire others to kind of diversify their careers and not just put all their bags in one basket, because a lot of people think you just do research to receive that excellence, whereas I have a very diverse career with that teaching commitment and love and passion for teaching. A lot of teachers don't get the kind of credit that they deserve for doing that sort of work in the university system. Usually, a lot of the big researchers get all the accolades. But I was pretty determined that people would pay attention to the value of teaching and the value of outreach, the value of engagement with communities, and the kind of activism that I do as well, advocating for the Banabin people and the Pacific people more generally. I'm always pulling up various politicians and policymakers in Australia and calling them on some of their belittling views of the Pacific and Pacific Islands, Pacific Islanders. I don't stand for that kind of language about the Pacific. So I wanted people to see that you could be critical, you could speak your mind, especially if it's coming from a place where you know your stuff, and you could challenge some of the dominant views about the Pacific that come out of very powerful countries like Australia that really dominate geopolitics in the western part of the Pacific and elsewhere, and have been spreading their reach even further across Oceania. I love living here, and I love Australian and Indigenous Australian and many other communities here. But I think the government itself and some of the leaders could do better by the Pacific.
Now, part of being awarded the Australian University Teacher of the Year was the recognition of the unique and creative approach that you take to teaching, such as the use of dance and field work. Tell us a little bit more about that, those innovative approaches.
Yes, I think that was really the edge in my work was creativity. Like I said, there were many other wonderful teachers who went up, but I do find that unless academics have a background in the visual arts or dance or some kind of creative practice, they're not always confident or keen to weave it into their classrooms. Whereas I was raised dancing in Fiji, and I kept dancing all the way through my uni studies until I was about 40. And then I was like, oh, I'm not moving so well. Um, but for me, dance is another language. So I'm actually not great at Pacific languages because my brain gets all muddled, but dance is my language. I understand dance, many different types of dances. So I can weave that into the classroom and get students grounded in place and grounded in their bodies. And yes, it's part of like, oh, a warm up routine or well being, but I also can explain to them how Pacific dances come from place. They come from our heritage, they come from our value system. The big one is the value system. So if you're dancing about the land and the sea and the sky and the birds and the clouds and the waves, it means you understand them and you're connected to them. It's not just abstract, random movement. So a lot of people think Pacific dance is a bit of shaking this and shaking that, but they don't realize it's a real powerful language. It's our archive. It's our archive of knowledge. So when people remember their dances and they pass it on to the next generations, even when they update their dances and they weave in new choreographies, that's tracking history. That's tracking our values. That's tracking our transforming culture. So I do that in the classroom while talking about politics, while talking about geography, while talking about climate change. I do all the big topics, but then because it's grounded in our students' bodies, where they're like, oh, here's a big wave and here's a little wave. They're like, okay, we will never forget the difference between a big wave and a little wave, or the deep ocean and the shallow ocean. And so it just kind of sediments this idea that the Pacific is not an abstract random space out there, but they can feel it. And then when they walk across their own lands or they go home, they look at their neighborhoods and their suburbs and the different features of the landscape differently, because I've given them those tools to orient themselves in place and space and in history as well. So that made a huge difference for this award. I think the assessors were like, whoa. Yeah.
Absolutely. Now, finally, some words for our young people, I guess, sitting here listening in about the importance of education and I guess the importance of them seeing their own faces reflected in our lecturers and those who stand in front of them, not only in the classroom, but in particular at a tertiary level.
Yeah, absolutely. All of that is important. And I'm always encouraging young people to strive for higher education, even though I know there are many forms of education, and university might not be the destination for everyone. But for those who do make the university their destination, I am really passionate about them valuing the study of the Pacific. So, absolutely, you can do law and economics or literature or something else that you're passionate about, or something that your parents made you study, which is often the case for young Pacific people. Your parents are in your ears telling you what to study, but you can do visual arts too, if you like. But not to undervalue the study of the Pacific, because I think even amongst our own people, there's quite a lot of cynical ideas about why would you bother when I got that at home every day from mom and dad, so on and so forth. It's not the same. Yes, that's part of it, what you get from home in terms of language and heritage and culture, but it's not the same, especially if you're raised in a Samoan or Tongan or Fijian family. Then you go out and you learn about Palau and Kiribati and Papua New Guinea and Solomon Islands and Vanuatu, and you put it all together for the whole Pacific. So you get your corner of the Pacific at home, but that doesn't mean you know everything about Melanesia, Micronesia, Polynesia, And that is useful. That is a tool basket that you can take anywhere in the world. I have students who are now in Washington, D.C. or New York, other places. And when their employers talk to them, their edge is the Pacific, their understanding of the Pacific, because everyone can do law. Everyone can do economics. Everyone can do health. That is something taught everywhere. But there are only few places where you can learn about the Pacific and feel empowered. Empowered not just in your own culture, but in the whole of Oceania. And that is profound because the Pacific is 1/3 of the planet. It's huge. So this is an empowering field of study.
Professor Katerina Teaiwa, Australia University Teacher of the Year for 2021. Thank you very much for your time, your leadership, and for sharing your inspirational story.
Vinaka and Korapa Ete. Lovely to see you and to be on the program.
You're listening to Early Edition with Ete 531 PI, bringing Pacific people together. That was Professor Katerina Teaiwa, Australia University Teacher of the Year for 2021. Here is Black